Hi everybody, I'm Ryan. Today we're going to talk about how to sideboard with Amulet Titan in Modern against the top 10 most popular decks in Modern. Now what this video is not is a deck tech. I'm not going to explain how the cards work or why I'm playing certain cards or anything like that except for the sideboard cards. That being said, let's jump into it and talk about my sideboard cards. So this is my Amulet Titan deck, and the sideboard cards are pretty straightforward. Dismember is our removal, Tear Asunder is removal but also Artifact and Enchantment Hate. It's no sweat for the extra mana for kicker, so really we side it in this extra removal as well. Spelunking is really good against decks that have a lot of interaction with our Amulet of Vigor, or decks that we kind of have to side out Urza Saga against, like Blood Moon decks and things like that. Just has an additional Amulet of Vigor effect. Endurance is Graveyard Hate. Force of Vigor is Artifact and Enchantment Hate, also pretty good against Blood Moon because it doesn't require mana to cast it. Generous Scent is essentially Blood Moon hate, like almost exclusively, so we can grab our forests even through Blood Moon and cast our spells. Bajuka Bog is Graveyard hate. Cavern of Souls is additional counterspell hate. Emrakul is against decks that plan on grinding with us and interact with us really heavily. And then Engineer Explosives is really solid against decks with a lot of 0 and 1 mana cost permanents like Hammer Time or Rhinos and things like that. So let's jump into it with how to sideboard against Rakdos Scam. Against Scam, we are bringing in the Dismembers so that we can break up the Scam. Make it a little bit smaller. We're bringing in the Generous Ents to be able to power through Blood Moon. We're bringing in Spelunking because we're going to end up siding out a number of Urza Saga. And we're bringing in Tear Asunder, again, as additional removal. And we're bringing in Endurance to be able to break up Scams as much as possible. Now we're going to be siding out of Cultivator Colossus because it's pretty easy for them to answer, and frankly not a big deal, and it's kind of hard to cast. We're going to be shaving a lot of the Urza Saga because it will just go to the graveyard through Blood Moon, and that's just no fun at all. We're going to be shaving the Cavern of Souls because they don't play counterspells. Also, you'll notice that I'm going to be cutting lands a reasonable amount of time. We run a ridiculous amount of lands. We don't need them all. Most of the lands are played as utility. And so you can actually cut lands without bringing in lands pretty easily in this deck. And then we're going to round it out by shaving on our Boreal Grazer. We need cards in our deck to nearly all be relevant, and we don't want a double grief turn 1 to leave us with a card that essentially does nothing like a Boreal Grazer. However, its ramp is super important, so we want to keep some number in. And so this is how I sideboard against Rakdos Scam. The second most popular deck is Rhinos, where we're going to be bringing in Engineered Explosives, and that is pretty much it. We're going to be bringing out a Cultivator Colossus because we're not looking to grind with this deck. It's pretty fast because that's the primary reason we're playing Cultivator Colossus. And we're going to shave the Boreal Grazer because all the other cards in our deck we kind of want. Deck is Yawgmoth, where we're going to be bringing in Dismember for that all-important creature hate. Bringing in Endurance to be able to like kind of snipe Undying effects and just like as a decent blocker as well. We're going to be bringing out Cultivator Colossus because it's really easy for them to answer and, frankly, a little bit slow. We're going to shave in a Boreal Grazer because a Boreal Grazer is just really shaveable in these situations. And we're going to cut 2 Besejus, leaving 1 in for some really corner case scenarios, but there's not really a lot to hit with Beseju, so we don't really care about it. And so that's how I sideboard against Yawgmoth. The 5th most popular deck is the Mirror Match. In the Mirror, you're going to bring in Tear Asunder for that all-important Artifact and Enchantment Hate for Amulet Vigor and Urza Saga. For the same reason, we're bringing in Force of Vigors. And I'm a fan of Spelunking just because it's all important to just like kill as fast as possible. This is a race. Because this is a race, I'm down to shave a Cultivator Colossus. We're going all in on this, baby. We can shave a Cavern of Souls because it doesn't really do anything. And we're going to shave a Golgari Rot Farm and a Forest, because everything else in our main deck is frankly super, super, super important. And so this I sideboard against the Mirror Match. And by the way, we're keeping in 2 Forests because Besejuing lands is totally a thing that happens in this matchup. The 6th most popular deck is Living End. We're going to be siding in Bajuka Bog. Being able to exile their graveyard is super powerful. We're going to be siding in Generous End to kind of beat them at their own game. Endurance for that all-important graveyard hate as well. And we're going to be siding out Cavern of Souls because it frankly does not do anything. Cultivator Colossus because it is just too slow. Expedition Map because, again, like if we really need to grab a certain land and spend that much mana on it, it is just not worth it, and we're going to die before that happens. And Odawara just does nothing. And so I sideboard against Living End. Seventh most popular deck is Murktide, where we're going to bring in Dismembers for, the Ragavan, the DRC, stuff like that. Endurance to just control their graveyard so they can never have a large Murktide in their DRC. A 1/1, also it blocks DRC and stuff very easily. Generous Ent because of the fear of Blood Moon. We're deciding out of Cultivator Colossus just because it's hard to power it through all that counter magic. Which is why we're also going to bring in the Cavern of Souls. Oh my god, I almost forgot to pick that in. That's so embarrassing. Because of all the counter magic, speed is a lot less important rather than like being able to just like, power through and have all these powerful cards. So we're going to shave on Arboreal Grazer. They're likely to interact with our artifacts and stuff like that. So Myosynth Gardens loses a lot of stock. Azusa Lost But Seeking dies to Lightning Bolt, so I'm not a big fan of that. And again, out of an abundance of fear of Blood Moon, we're going to shave on Urza Saga, which means we're going to bring in the Spelunking and continue to shave on our Arboreal Grazer. Now, I understand Arboreal Grazer stops Ragavan, but really we're trying to combo our opponents. We have other ways to stop Ragavan, in Dismember. We're kind of just like trading out with that. And so this is, I realize, a weird sideboard, but how I sideboard against Murktide. The 8th most popular deck is Hammer Time. We're going to be bringing in Engineer Explosives because we can really easily wipe their board, or at least their important cards with that. Dismember, because they rely on just a few creatures, and being able to nail those is super important. Tear Asunder and Force of Vigor to be able to deal with their artifacts and enchantments. We're shaving on Cultivator Colossus because the deck is just too fast. Arboreal Grazer because, frankly, it doesn't really block much at all. Myosynth Gardens because they have ways to interact with our artifacts, and we don't love that. Cavern of Souls because, frankly, they don't have any counter magic that we're super afraid of. At least anymore. We're also going to be shaving a forest. No real need for basic lands in this matchup. And we're going to be going down on the One Ring. The One Ring is decent if you can predict the turns that they're going to have their big attacks, but they can just delay their big attacks one more turn and it's not a big deal. And so the One Ring often just becomes like a delay one turn, which sometimes is enough, but very often isn't. And drawing cards off of it is sketchy because we're always contending with our life total. And so I sideboard against Hammer Time. The next most popular deck is Tron. Against Tron, I am not interested in sideboarding. I don't care about killing their the expedition map and whatever. Like, getting the artifacts is just like super not going to happen. We just need to kill as fast as possible, and that's what I'm looking to do. Move on with our lives. The 10th most popular deck, Burn. Against Burn, we're bringing in the Generous Ents because if we can resolve it and pop a food, it can very often win us the game. We're bringing out a Cultivator Colossus because it's just too slow, and out an Azusa because it can be killed, and we want to blank, their burn spells as far as removal goes. And so this is how I sideboard against Burn. And there you have how to sideboard against the top 10 most popular decks with Amulet Titan in Modern. If you have any questions, concerns, or do you do it any differently, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video and videos like this, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social media. Links are above me and in the description, especially on Discord and Twitter. I'm trying to grow the communities there. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.